Hi, Kathy here from Kathy's Cute Creations. I hope y'all can hear me. I have my phone and everything up, but I have blockage in my right ear, so I can't hear that well and I can't speak that well because my coughing hasn't quit any. But this is week 1, which I'm excited to start, and it's all about the cutting. Now, you guys already know all about the cutting, so this video is going to be very, very short. I don't really know how to do a voiceover while I do the video, and I can't do a premiere on it. So you should have your paperwork downloaded. It looks similar to this right here. Okay, so get your sheet out and go ahead. And this is the main sheet. This is our cheat sheet's what I call it. And this is for the main fabric. Now, it's normally green. I'm going to go ahead and show you. I have all of mine laid out here. I also keep my fabric sheet out so I can match it up. And like I said in my other video, they keep it pretty well in order that it came in the package if you didn't just pull it out and start going through all your fabric and everything. So let me go ahead and show you, in case you haven't seen anything and this is your first video that you're watching. I've replaced my green background, which is what all this cutting is, to a blue, because y'all know I don't like that much green. I do like all these other greens. They're fine, but I didn't like the grunge green. So I went ahead and just went with a plain blue background. It's not a grunge. And I make sure that it matches all these other colors, so it does go together. So I'm going to show it to you here on the table. So now what I've done is I've gotten up here closer to the camera since you're not seeing me, so I'm closer to the microphone, so it'll probably be a little bit louder. But there's the blue fabric that I've chose to use, and then you can see it goes really well with these colors right here. And I've got all of them marked, so this is what we're going to be cutting first. And I cut it the same way as I did my other videos. And you know that if I have any kind of problems while I do my cutting, I will come back and I will show you what I'm talking about if it's going to create a problem. Okay? So I just put everything in order. I've got the little, I'm trying to think, what are these called? Jesus, I can't think right now. Something buddies or something. I can't think of what they're called, but the alphabeties, that's what they are. So I just got it in order of the fabric to be cut. I'll cut all my A out, then I'll cut all my B and my C. I always iron it. If you guys do any kind of starching, now would be the time that you want to get your starching done. Okay? Just lay it out, starch it, do whatever, prep all your work. Now I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to take a couple days cutting all of this and break it up so that I'm not too exhausted. I don't want to talk too much because I don't want to strain my throat. I've been to the doctor twice. Actually the cough started, and I just thought that I had got a cold, and that was back in September. And then when it went on for so darn long and the cough got stronger and stronger to the point my ribs were hurting, that's when I decided maybe I need to go see the doctor, because at this point, you know, I'm taking Robitussin. I'm doing everything that I'm trying on my own, like the NyQuil, the DayQuil, all these things. But I have a lot of medications that don't work with me. Like if I have a headache, I can't take a Tylenol, I can't take an aspirin, I can't take ibuprofen because none of that medication works. I've already tried it as a young adult. I've tried it when I got older, and it just does not work, period. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to turn my camera around and talk for just a little bit. Hold on. So as I was saying, I don't want to I don't want to talk real loud and strain my voice or anything, but I think this is one of the reasons the medication that I'm taking, which pill, I think he said it was in a liquid in a pill, but it would be better off for me to take it pill-wise. And I don't remember the name of it, but it's for, it's to get you to stop coughing. Well, you can't take it more than 3 times a day. I've already taken 4 dosage. It has not cut down on the coughing at all. Although this cough sounds dry, it's not a dry cough, okay? My throat's not sore. It's never been sore the entire time I've been sick. I've had all different kinds of things since last month. Like I've had the fever. I had fever like 3 days. I had fever. It was on and off fever. just everything and anything that would come with just your regular cold. So I thought that I got a regular cold. Well, anyway, so the first doctor I went to gave me a sample Z-Pack and an inhaler, although my lungs are not. The first thing they were worried about was whether my lungs were blocked. And so I got an x-ray. They're just as clear as they can be. They took my pulse ox, which is where they put the little thing on your finger to see if you've got enough oxygen. My oxygen level's up. So they did everything they could trying to figure out what I got. So he didn't really put a name on it, the first doctor. So I went ahead and I took all the medication. I was supposed to be taking, what's it called? I always get the two medications mixed up. And it was the DM, so you guys probably know what it is, but it's also for cough, okay? And you can get it in pills and you can get it in liquid. So I went to the pharmacy, got it in liquid. It still did nothing for the cough. Then when I thought my cough was getting less on Monday, that's when Monday afternoon I started having a fever, and then it got worse and my coughing got worse. So that didn't help. And then the worst thing is that I cough even more if I lay down, because, you know, it's just like anything else. You go to bed at night and that's when you get your sickest. And that's when I was getting my fever. I was getting the worst coughs. I couldn't sleep because I was actually coughing to keep myself awake. But anyway, so I got all this medication. I'm on another Z-Pack, okay? So I've got a day of that in me. And it's just like I can't get rid of it, whatever it is. Now, the second doctor said that, first off, it's not a cold. I'm not contagious. It's not COVID. And that the reason that my ear's like this, because he went ahead and he tested my hearing and said that I can hear the same in both ears, although it's blocked. And right now, every time I talk, there's a vibration going on in my ear. And he said, I've got something that's in the bronchial family. Now, it's not bronchitis, but because of this constant coughing that's going on, it's done something to the ear between the outside and the inside. He said what it was called, and I don't remember the parts of the ear, but it has blocked it, trying to protect it from this constant coughing, which doesn't make any sense, but I don't know that much about medicine for that. So that's what he's trying to do, is get me to quit the coughing so that my ear would go ahead and release itself. But like I said, so far it's not working. As a matter of fact, a couple of their days, I literally slept sitting up, but I can only sit up so long and then my bottom hurts. Then I've got to lay down. So I sat up like one night until 2 in the morning and then laid down. But when I cough, it's not like I just cough one time. It's almost like there's 3 coughs, okay? But I was like doing it every 5 minutes, so I wasn't getting any sleep. So I was exhausted constantly. Now, between Monday and Thursday, and this is another reason I went to the doctor, I was so tired and exhausted. First off, I hadn't eaten because I didn't feel like eating, but I was tired to the point that I would wake up, I took my granddaughter to work, I came home, I laid back down, and I went to sleep. I was lucky to stay awake for an hour at a time. And then I was turning around, I was falling back asleep, sitting up. So I couldn't get enough sleep in me either because the coughing kept me awake constantly. So finally, I think I've gotten over a lot of whatever I had before. It's just if I could get rid of the coughing, I would be so much better. But I have managed to stay awake the past couple of days without having to take a nap. And I've put off this video for as long as I can to try to get my voice back, and it only gets worse and worse to the point that I can barely talk. So by the end of the day, I can't talk at all. I'm at a whisper because it's not that it's hurting to talk, it's just that I can't get anything to come out. So don't take pity on me or anything, okay? I mean, I'm doing the best I can. I try the warm soup. I try all the warm liquids. I'm not eating anything kind of heavy. I do teeny weeny little pieces of meals and stuff. Yesterday was the first day that I could actually eat something that I didn't feel sick about. And I had the most food. But like, I feel like even though I ate quite a bit yesterday, I don't feel like I ate anything, okay? It's hard to understand. I guess if you're sick and you've been sick, you guys kind of know what it's like. But I'm going ahead. So there won't be a lot of talking while I'm cutting, but I'll explain it to you while I'm showing you the picture so that I can have my mouth up at the camera. For example, go on over to Fort Worth Fabric Studios website if you haven't done it to download your paper, because it's downloadable every Monday that we do our project for that week. So the first week is strictly the cutting. That's why I'm going to try to break this up in a couple of days. And so before you get started, make sure that you take this sheet here that it'll come out on Monday also. Oh my gosh. So make sure you take this sheet, because this is really, really good and important, and that you match up your colors, because you don't want to be mixing your greens. Let's see here. So one of the greens that's going to be easy to mix up is the I, which says Hustle and Bustle Party Multiple Color Dot Pine. You can mix that I up with that O if your printer doesn't print out the colors really, really good. So if you have to look at it on the website, by all means, look on the website. If you do mess up the colors, and let me see real quick before I say this, I and O. Okay, you cannot substitute one color for the other, and the reason I say that is, I is this top one right here, and on each one of these, it tells you the size of the fabric. So for the letter I, this is another way to double check it if you're not sure about the color. The I is a 10 by 22 inch piece. Okay. The O is a 19, okay? So it's got 3 less for the width, but it's the full length, so it's the width of the fabric. So you can't substitute those two colors because they're not the same size of fabric, therefore you would be short when it comes to make it. Now, sure, you can substitute your own fabric if you don't like it, like I did on the first one, the A. Okay, that's why I changed my A. You guys can use, let's say that you went ahead and you bought your kit, and then one of these fabrics, like me, you didn't care for, like let's say that little strip, H-I-J, I think it is the K. So the K, the size of the K, is a 3 by 22 inch. So it's only 3 inches wide, okay, or height, I should say. The length of it is 22. The height of it is 3 inches. So if you have a half a yard or a quarter of a yard in your stash and you want to use a different green, you can use a different green on that strip. Okay? It's just up to you. Just because you get the kit doesn't mean you have to use every strip in the kit. You can always take this strip that you don't care for and cut it up into smaller sizes for a different project, or use it in a different project altogether. Okay? Keep in mind, this is your quilt for yourself or to be given away. So you get to choose your own colors. All right, so that's all I wanted to say about that. And you guys know how to do this sheet here. This is a good example of all the sub-cutting that we're doing. So if you look on your sheet, and it shows you 2, 3, 4, 5. The very first 5 strips of cutting that we're going to do with our fabric A is going to be a 2-inch height or width, and it's the width of the fabric. So you're going to take your fabric, lay it out, and you're going to square it up at the very beginning, which I will show you, and then you'll cut 2 inches off, and you'll do that until you've got all of those. Then I just literally set them aside, and after I've got it all cut up, then I go back and recut it all to the sizes it needs. Now, while I'm doing this, and you guys know I end up with a lot of extra fabric, because when you get down to, let's see, and this is really good about what they do. So when they get down here, and I'm just going to give you an example that's got some strips on it. So this right here, when you look at it, it says 3.5 right here. 3.5 by 2.5, I believe is what it says. And this says a 3.5-inch square. I believe that's what it says. Yes. Okay, so the advantage is it shows you that you take, and it shows you how to do this. So there's no guesswork in the blue. You'd be more apt to make a mistake when it came to cutting the other colors other than the A fabric, because it's literally telling you how to cut every one of your strips and how to subcut, okay? So let's go ahead and get started. I think I've talked enough and I need a little break here. And thank you everybody to bear with me while I'm going through this episode here. Okay, so let's get started. And I'm gonna, like I said, I'm gonna iron all my fabric first. If you do any kind of starching, no matter what you use, you wanna go ahead and do that before you cut it. And you wanna make sure you do it with all of your fabric, not part of your fabric. Another important thing is that when we get started, whatever length you use, you want to continue with that. Whatever type of thread you begin with, you want to continue with that. If you're going to make this blanket and you know that it's going to be sat on, like let's say you're going to put it on a bed, or your kids are going to use it and they're going to wrap their feet at the bottom of it and pull on it, you might not want to use a cotton thread. Maybe you're going to want to use a polyester. And the reason I say that is polyester has a give in it, so it won't snap your stitches. All right? So these are things to consider before you start your project. Whatever machine you start out with, and you're going to use your 1/4 inch seam, I would suggest to stay with that machine and use that same stitch for the entire project. Whether you need to measure it or not, it makes no difference. If you don't use the 1/4 inch and you do a less than a 1/4 inch, you want to continue with that. This way, when you're totally finished with all of your squares, they're all going to match up, and then you don't have to worry that one of your blocks is a little bit shorter or longer than the other, and you've got to feed it into it, okay? I'm just giving you some little hints at the very beginning before we get started. All right, so let's get starting with our cutting. I know some of you don't really like to cut. That's why I say if you can do this project in 3 to 4 days and you can spread it out, you can always cut a few pieces of fabric, set it aside, and do a sewing project, and then come back and cut some more. This way, if you get tired of standing on your feet, I don't know, I've never cut while sitting down. Probably to do that, I'd have to have my table shorter because I would want to have the pressure of my hand pushing it down. That's the reason I stand over my fabric. But I've tried it a couple times and I can't get it straight, so I don't even want to bother with that. But some people do cut while they're sitting. But I do know that my feet eventually hurt from the constant standing. I just have hard floors in here with a carpet on it. So the constant standing I can't take, and so that's why I like to break up all my cutting. But I do like to have it all cut before I actually sew it. But I don't have an issue cutting out some, setting aside, and then sewing on a totally different project. It's something that I enjoy to do, so that I don't feel like I've done something I don't like all day long. So just to give you a little hint there. All right, let's get started. Alrighty, I went ahead and I squared up my fabric. This piece of fabric is it's 108 inch. So it's a great big huge piece because I could use it for a backing. I'm trying to get close to the microphone here. So what I've done is I took my regular mat off of here and I'm actually using this because the length of it is as far as my table, and that's what I need. Otherwise it would have been off the pad and it would be too much moving around. So I went ahead and I'm using the same kind of rulers because you always want to use the same thing you start out with. So I went ahead and I did two things. First, I put my fabric along this line here the best that I could. I took my ruler and I put it up here for 2 inches, went all the way down the whole thing, put a weight on it, okay? And so what I'll do, remember now, you want to make sure your ruler is off of the fabric here. So what I try to do, let's get this light out of here, go up a little bit, there you go. I try to line it up along the bottom, okay, to get it square because I've already squared my fabric. Then I measure my 2 inches, I'll cut it, I'll turn around, I'll move this, and then I'll move this up to the other end, and I'll match this end up here along the top and still make sure that I have my 2 inches because this strip, the bottom part will already be cut, but the top part won't. Okay, so that's how I cut this because it's oversized. It's bigger than my ruler, all right? And I'm not going to pull out a yardstick and use it for cutting. Okay, so I've cut the bottom part first, took my ruler up here, took this ruler here, made sure it's still at the 2 inches, put my weight back on, and now I just finished cutting the rest of this. And I did all that, and the darn thing didn't film, so there we go. And so now, and I'll show you again here. So this is extra, extra long. Here's the fold right there. So it's like cutting 2 each time because here's the other fold right here. So now I have 3 strips, and I'm going to, and only asked to cut 5, but as I said before, which it didn't tape, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to cut another strip, and I'll have 4. It'll probably be extras, but that's fine because I've got another project in mind for all of this. Now, for fabric D&E, which are the small strips, they're on the first page of your quilt directions, and they want 16 pieces that are 3.5 by 2.5. So what I did was I didn't straighten anything at all. I went down to the bottom, down here, and this is what I used for my straight line before I cut it off. So I laid my ruler on here. I laid it down at the bottom, like that there. Then I went ahead and I took off the edge because as you can see, it's got a little bit of a curve right here. There's a little curve there. So I straightened that off, and then I did 3.5, and then I subcut it. It'll make enough pieces and you'll have a little strip left over. Now, when it comes to doing this is the second sheet. When it says first cut, you really want to follow these directions, because if you don't, you will run out of fabric before you get it done. So I already did the first one. I'm on fabric G, which is the Party Multicolor Dot Candy, and so I want to let you know what I've done so I have enough fabric. So I've already cut the first part off. So I want you to cut 8.5 by 8.5. So I took the length of the fabric. This is the length. I took it, I went ahead, I squared it, and then I turned it, squared it again. Now this is folded in half, so it makes 2 pieces. And then I measured 8.5 inches up, cut it off, separated the 2, turned it, measured it, went ahead and squared it again because this side was not squared, and did 8.5. So that's where this square comes from, this 8.5 by 8.5. Now I set it aside. I took my fabric, which was laying this direction. I've turned it this way. Make sure it's square on this side, because the next thing it wants you to do is to cut, make sure it's in the picture here, 4 4.5 by 5 inch. So what you want to do is go ahead and cut, because this is doubled now, you're going to measure 4.5 inches. And this is the longest length of the fabric now. The part that's been cut off was the top part. We're going to go ahead and we're going to cut 4.5 inches. We're going to separate it. Looks like a little piece needs to be. All right, we're going to separate it. Before you do anything else, measure it right now. I already know this is squared because this was the piece that I cut. Now it wants 4 of them, and it's 5 inches. So we'll take our ruler and we'll go up to 5, which is right here. And I know, looking at that, I can get 2 pieces that are 5 inches right there, which means I'll have 1, 2, 3, 4, and that's what we need. So don't cut any more off your fabric until you've cut this next section. You're going to cut 4 4.5 by 5. The width is already 4.5, so we're just going to cut it by 5 now. Since I'm right-handed, I'm going to turn it this way. 5 inches right on the line, and I'm lining up the bottom down here as well as the side to make sure that it's squared, and then just cut it. That's 2 pieces. I don't pick up the fabric. I just leave the fabric down there. Remeasured the 4.5, which is this away. That's the 5. Back up the camera a little bit and cut the 5. Now I have 4 fabrics for the next cut. And I already have it marked. You saw it on my paper. So I take it, lay it down here. That's going to be week 4. That's what I have on my paper. I try to keep it all organized so it's easy. I don't so much worry about the colors because I put the week's worth of fabrics on a little design board before I start, which I'll show you at the end. And then we look at all the only thing we have left to do is another 4.5 inch. And this time it's going to be by 3.5 inches. So first I'm taking this, and this exactly, this right here, this is my leftover piece, and it is 3.5 inches. So I know that I can use it. And we know that it is 4.5. And so what we're going to need is 4 of them. Well, I already know I have 2 here. So when I cut these 2 out, I'll turn this, cut it out here, and I'll have all of this fabric left over. Okay, so let's just go ahead and do that. Okay, I have everything cut out, and so I'm showing you how I have it set up. So I went ahead and I put week 3 and week 4 on the top, and on the bottom is week 5 and 6. And then here's my week 2. I have it all lined up on my design board. And then I'll have my pattern out here, and we'll start with that next Monday. Thank you all for watching. Hopefully next Monday my voice will be back. I won't have all this coughing going on, and I'll feel a lot better. Thank you everybody for watching. Thank you to all my new subscribers, and I will see you next Monday for week 2 of the Fort Worth Fabric Studios sew along, and this is going to be a wonderful homemade holiday. Thank you all for watching. Bye-bye.
The snow is falling and it's getting colder now.